a quick question, Preston, Sonny. Thank y'all so much. So when it comes to trading like a player, like a rotational player, or getting like sometimes maybe a star if they're just going through an order organizations and stuff like that. Like, what's y'all's like window of like trying to like, like for example, like, some teams don't have a lot of patience when it comes because they want to win now. So like what's like the windows like for other teams to like try to like rebuild and then try to go back to competing and contending before like they have to fall way down on rebuilding? What's the window looking like for some teams?
I can start, Sonny. Yeah, I think market is a big thing that dictates how fast you can move within those tiers. Um, like a team like Portland, who isn't going to get free agents really. Like they are going to value their draft picks and hidden on the edges in the mid level and really developing people. Whereas like the LAs and New York, they are could potentially be more flexible in saying, hey, we don't want picks, we want players. We're going to be able to sign big free agents. Let's always try and be good. Let's use those picks to get players. Whereas smaller market teams, you see it with OKC, right? What they did with turning Paul George and into all those picks and drafting Shed and obviously getting Shea back and hitting a home run with J Dub. So I think market dictates that, ownership dictates that. Like when I was in Phoenix last year, new owner, he wanted to win now. He said, "Hey, I have a chance to get KD. I don't care about you know." The reality is, you're probably not going to win the championship, right? So even though you trade for KD, you still are less than 50-50 to win the championship at best, right? Like I think we kind of thought like if we can go get KD, maybe we have a 20% chance, right? Like you go from a 10 to a 20% chance and you take it. And he wanted to make a splash. And so yeah, I think it depends on just a lot of different factors.
Yeah, I think all of that really rings true for me. And honestly, I think if you look back at a lot of teams who were close, it's the rare teams that got off their assets early and moved on to the next phase of their rebuilding and the next phase of their life cycle. I think it's kind of like putting down a dog. It's always a couple of years more than you than you want it to be, and you look back, you're like, maybe we could have done something there. So yeah, it's hard, and to Preston's point, you just don't know what the pressures are from the different parties, and you have no idea unless you're on the ground.
Good question.
Solid dog reference.
Yeah,
That's
it was tough.
um, but yeah, no, I mean to speak to like there's so many factors involved. Like obviously we're doing GM to GM, but like everything you do has to get approved by the owner. And so that's where like so many factors come into play of like GMs will negotiate knowing that and some of them use it as leverage where it's like maybe they just know that other GM's a little weak and they're like, well, my owner said I have to get another second round or another first, or we can't do it. And so they'll use their owner as a prop in certain circumstances. Um, but then sometimes the owner might actually be doing that. So it's just like the owner may be like, because the owners they build relationships with these. Like we said, it's like these there's so many relational aspects, like Coach Stotts was talking about. But it's like the owners get to know the players, and like those are they watch the players, they grow, I don't want to say they're kids, but they watch them like they are. They watch them grow up, they draft them, they watch them develop, and so they have those attachments to them. And then all of a sudden, you as a GM, because all of us, fantasy GM is fun for all of us. All of a sudden, we go, yeah, I want to trade that guy because I want to get this guy, and they're like, why? Like I love this guy. I've watched him develop. I've watched him. And so like selling that to an owner can be challenging. And that's where like you got to have, and that's where it's like even like media wise and word getting out, like how Coach Stoss is like, don't tell me until it's at the 10-yard line. Is like you don't want to know everything that's being thrown out there until it's like close to being done. And you're not even going to bring it to the owner unless you know like you can get the owner to approve it. So a lot of factors like that